This video is to help you modify your First Nations diet. In order to get a clear idea about portion control and food choices, we recommend you also watch Managing Your Nutrition. The modern First Nations diet tends to rely heavily on processed food that can be high in fat and sodium. This can lead to complications. Today, dietitian Sean Penny is working with Helen to help her make better food choices.
What should I be looking for?
Well, Helen, I would focus on a variety. So you want to look for colorful fruits and vegetables, and as you can see, there's a lot of them available at this market. One way you can think about better eating is by looking at balance. And one of the ways we look at balance is through the medicine wheel. And take each color of the medicine wheel and apply it to a food group. So for yellows, those are your grains. Reds would be your fruits and vegetables. Blacks would be your meats. And white would be your calcium sources.
Starting with the red part of the medicine wheel, fruits and vegetables, here are some tips on modifying your First Nations diet. Tip number 1, buy local and seasonal. They're fresh and full of nutrients, and if available in your area, often very economical.
So if you want a specific example of something that's locally in season right now, let's take a look at this asparagus. As you can see, it's Ontario asparagus. It's nice and fresh. You can do a lot of different things with it.
When you can't buy fresh, try canned or frozen fruits and vegetables. They're available year-round, and they're just as nutritious. Next, the black part of the medicine wheel, meat and meat alternatives. Tip number 2, buy leaner cuts.
I would look at choosing things like chicken and fish more often. Beef and pork are still good, but there are leaner cuts that you can use. If you look at the beef brisket, for example, it's $3.19 a pound, and you can see that's a nice lean cut of meat. There's very little fat on it, and it's very inexpensive. Whereas if you go to the ribeye steaks, for example, you can see all that marbling in there, which is a lot of fat, which means a lot of extra calories for you. Now, when you are picking leaner cuts of meat, you may have to cook them a little bit differently, but it's getting back to what the traditional ways of cooking are. So looking at things like barbecuing, braising, slow cooking as opposed to adding oil and frying the meat. And then if you have leftovers, you can put that on a sandwich as opposed to buying some of the lunch meats that have a lot of sodium in them.
The white part of the medicine wheel represents milk and alternatives. Sean recommends an interesting modification for First Nations clients. Number 3, make some soup. Beyond dairy, soup can provide you with an alternative source of calcium.
In order to prevent osteoporosis, you need good calcium sources. Using bones and things like soups and stews would give us calcium. For example, if we buy a turkey, we can use the turkey bones to make a soup a couple of days later.
It's also a great option for many of those who are lactose intolerant. The yellow part of the medicine wheel is grains, like rice and wheat. Number 4, choose whole grains.
So not so much the white choices, but more of these dark choices, because they're going to have a lot of whole grain flours in them that are going to give you a lot of vitamins and nutrients, a lot of fiber. So there's lots and lots of great choices you can make in a bakery, and I would encourage you to try some different things.
And if you are baking or making bannock, mix in some whole wheat or whole grain ingredients.
So if we were to go back to eating foods in a more traditional way, either by the foods we choose to eat or how we cook them, then we'd be a lot better off.
Taking control of what you eat and knowing what's in your food is an important part in helping manage your diabetes. But don't forget to ask for help.
There's a lot of support materials out there that have been provided by either your band or by the government to help deal with having diabetes and living with it on a day-to-day basis.